Well, welcome to the CCA Workbench, and Dave, we're talking about rigs and techniques.
Yeah, I don't have anything to rig, really.
No?
Because we're talking about sticking fish with a pole. So, gig and flounder.
Non-releasing type of fishing.
Correct. Yep, exactly.
So how are we going to do this, Dave?
Well,
first off,
you know, flounder are the ultimate ambush predator. They lay flat on the bottom, and they got both their eyeballs on one side of their head. They get down on the bottom, and they cover themselves up partially in the sand or in the even little muddy areas sometimes. And when something comes over the top of them, they'll get up. They got wicked teeth, which a lot of people don't realize, but they'll jump up and grab stuff and swallow it immediately. So they like to be in a place where they can get down in a sand hole usually, and where there's some current that's going to come eventually and bring stuff to them, because they don't like to swim, you know, to go get stuff. They can, believe it or not, a big flounder can move off and go get something if he wants it, but usually they're laying there waiting for stuff to come. So I talked to a fella in Rockport named Captain Joe Klaus, and he's been doing this flounder gigging for years and years. He has a special boat that's made just for it, you know. And what they'll do is they'll go out there and they'll have a bunch of lights like these on the front of the boats, probably a lot better than these actually. Real super bright LED lights, you know, on a 12-volt battery, and they're pointed straight down into the water, so that you can spot those flounders when they're, you know, in 2 feet of water, or sometimes even 3 feet of water.
Dave.
Oh, one came off.
Oh,
there you go. You moved it. That's why.
Is that what happened?
Yeah,
it's my fault.
Yeah, of course. Okay. But anyway, that's what they do, and they'll either do that in a boat, where they'll have the front of the boat festooned with those lights pointing down into the water, or when you're waiting, you can just be walking along and with your own handheld light that goes actually under the water. And the guys on the boats, they'll have underwater lights as well. So you can do both with it. It's actually better if you have those underwater lights. And those underwater lights do 2 things. It's not only so that the people above can see the fish, but it's also, it blinds the fish to your presence. If those lights are shining in their face, you know,
don't want to move.
It's blind. They don't want to move. Now, if there's a big full moon or something, or even just a bright night, you know, a half moon or something, and you cast a shadow over them, sometimes they'll take off. You know, most of the time they'll stay there. Evidently, you can get up on them pretty close and get right up on them. But if there's a lot of light above, and you go over the top of them and cast a shadow on the fish, that'll make them spook off. You can still hit them with the spear, but you know, that's what you want to do. So what you want to do is you want to look for those places where the sand and the grass come together, or there's a sandbar with some oyster shells nearby. They will get up on oyster shell, which makes them really hard to see, because a flounder can change his color to match the bottom exactly, and with speckles and everything, like a shell bottom or a sand bottom or whatever. So you really got to be, you know, on top of it,
to what their camo is.
And what they're on. And they're going to be where the bait is. And if you see a bunch of little flounders around, that means there's probably going to be some big ones around. So that, you know,
and they like feeding on small mullet, mud minnows.
Correct. If you're in a place where you're seeing Manhattan and finger mullet and shrimp, if you're in a place where you know these things come moving through, although you can catch them year round, the best times are in the fall and in the spring. In the fall, they actually close it down to you can only fish for them hook and line in November, and you can only take 2. And the rest of the year you can take 5. And December, the first half of December, you can take 2 a night for the first half. And then the last half you can go back up to 5, because that protects the spawn. They come back into the bays and spawn. And if you gig a few hours right before the low tide, you know, you want to get there right when the tide's getting low, you know, a couple hours maybe before the low tide, when the water's moving a little bit, and then dead low tide.
And then the first hour of the incoming.
Exactly. That's probably your best time.
So how are we going to gig them, Dave?
Well, what you want to do is once you get up on the fish, you're going to see him down there. He's going to look like a deflated football on the bottom. And you're going to try to have the guy with the boat maneuver the boat so you can get pretty close to the fish, and without going over the top of it, obviously. And you're going to get up close to him. And you want to turn the spear so that it's horizontal to the head of the fish. You want to try to figure out which way the fish is facing, because you want to hit him in the head or close to the head. And you want to hit him horizontal like this, right behind the gill plate, you know, right there. So you're not messing up a whole bunch of meat. And you want to go all the way through and pin him to the ground, especially if it's a big one.
Right.
Because they can get away, you know, they're pretty strong fish. But you want to pin him to the ground and wait for a few seconds until he stops that messing
Wiggling
around, and then you want to scoop him up. You know, you want to scoop him up like a shovel so you can get his head up so he doesn't fall off.
Right.
Right.
So
you
he's
want his
wiggling back
weight.
on the
exactly.
gaff.
You want his weight to come back on it. You don't want to come down this way because
Right.
you end up losing a lot of meat. And then plus, when you go to pick him up, you can flop him
You
off.
flop them off.
So anyway.
Thank you. I learned that.
Yeah, I can't wait to try
Let me
it out.
make sure
really,
I get
actually.
that gig to take home tonight. I got some things I want to do with that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
All
And
right,
I'm
Brie.
sure it has
Just
nothing
get
to
the
do
kids
with
in line.
gigging.
That's what
He's
I
got
need it for.
College boys at home.